A Los Angeles hospital paid a $17,000 ransom in bitcoins to hackers that took over its electronic systems. Now, this is Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, and apparently they didn't have access to the electronic communications with one another. They had to do everything the old-fashioned way by using fax machines and paper files. But Alan Stefanek said in a statement that paying the ransom was the quickest and most efficient way of regaining access to the affected systems, which were crippled on February 5th and interfered with the hospital staff's ability to communicate electronically. Stefanek said that the attack locked them out of their systems by encrypting files for which only the hackers had decryption key for. Now, what I want to say about this is he claims that the hackers had no access to the patient's medical files. That doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, no. So it's like, okay, it was an amazing hack. We don't know how to solve it, so we had to pay the ransom. But it wasn't that big a deal. Like, he didn't have access to patient files. There's no way I believe that.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all.
Okay, now, having said that, they're in a tough spot here, man. And I'm not positive what I would do. And there's an argument to be made here in a rare case to pull a Ronald Reagan and pay the ransom. Okay, now Ronald Reagan, of course, was famous for negotiating with terrorists, and $17,000 to give the Iranians weapons that they could use against us. Just wanted to add that. Okay, now in this case, though, look, there's some ability to perhaps track these guys afterward, right? And if they have access to important files, and they're stopping doctors from being able to effectively communicate with one another, that is an emergency, and we've got to fix that emergency right now. Right? And so now, on the other hand, if you give in to them and you give them the ransom, they might do it to more hospitals, or they might do it again to that same hospital. So not an easy question. I hope to God that we can find these guys. Now, so we're stuck now between a rock and a hard place, right? So you've got sophisticated hackers who can come in here and mess almost anyone up. And they're really good at this. And to do this at a hospital is despicable. It could have cost someone their lives. It's one thing when you've got these guys doing it based on principles and they're going after the government or they're going after this or that.
Or a movie they don't like.
Yeah, it's another thing for somebody to go after a hospital and endanger all those people's lives just to get $17,000.
Yeah,
right?
And that's another really interesting component of the story. Why, like the amount that they wanted, $17,000. You know, usually when you hear about ransom stories, they want a lot more than that. So there's that, and just.
Oh, you know what? The person who did it is young.
Yeah,
because to a young person, $17,000 is a
lot
of money, right? And also they're young because they were successful. Older people are like, what is a hack?
What is a Bitcoin?
Yeah, they're like, is that a hack-a-sack that I used to play with when I was in school? Okay, anyway. Now, so it sucks that they could hold people ransom like that and risk people's lives. On the other hand, then the government turns around and goes, you see how dangerous they are. That's why we need to be able to hack into all of your lives. So like, I don't want to give the government too much power because we know that they have abused it in the past and they will abuse it in the future. On the other hand, government needs some degree of power to fight against these guys. So we're stuck between these two actors. See, if we had a government we could trust, that's crazy, right? So like maybe if we were in a democracy and they represented us, right? That might be a different story. But in this case, we have the government who has spied in on Americans that were innocent over and over again. I mean, if you don't remember, there's 1,000 stories, but I'll just give you one from back in the day. During the Iraq War, they said, oh, you spying in on the terrorists in Iraq to catch them. And then ABC News found out, no, they were using it to spy in on the U.S. military and listening in on phone sex conversations that the soldiers and even some generals were having with their wives and others when they were dialing back home. So you were stuck between that government, right, and these guys. It's not a good place to be.